Good morning and welcome to another erudite version of Diatribes from the Voice of Doom. Now here's your instructive and informative host, Voice of Doom. You who are on the road must have a code that you can live by, and so become yourself, because the past is just a goodbye. Teach your children well, their father's hell did slowly go by, and feed them on your dreams. The one they picks, the one you'll know by. Don't you ever ask them why. If they told you, you would cry. So just look at them and sigh, and know they love you. Thought I'd throw in that old song. It's appropriate in many ways, and I'll explain a little bit to you. Alright, first of all, the song written by Graham Nash, 1969, released in 1970. He originally wrote it when he was with the Hollies, but never recorded it with them. And I think that was a good thing, because CSNY was a damn good band in the 70s. And when I look at the lyrics, I realize, yes, it was the foundation for what we're seeing today, but it's a touching song. And it still kind of gets me right here. So, I'm going to say a few things. First of all, I'm getting comments, and I don't have very many subscribers or fans, so when I get a comment, I want to cater to those people because they took the time and trouble. So the person that's been commenting has been interested in education. I've been talking about it lately, but I'm going to talk about it some more because I did a little homework, you might say. And learning is great. You can learn. I've probably learned more since doing these diatribes than I ever learned in high school or college, because I have to prepare sometimes and get this information interesting. Now, before I get into my topic du jour, I want to add a coda to my last diatribe, because I was doing the schedule of today's public school classroom, and I forgot the last hour, which is one of the most important hours in the day of a student, is when the teacher, who's probably gender fluid, has to talk about her personal life and get some free group therapy from her students so she can unload on how her girlfriend or his boyfriend or whoever's friend is treating her badly. So I forgot that was a big part of the schedule. So you got your, I won't go through that again. I just wanted to add that at the end. And one more thing I wanted to do, I came up with a bunch of things that won't make up a show individually, but I want to give you a few headlines from Palki Sharma, who I like, and I think Gravitas is a really good news program. It's very much more informative than anything you'll get on American television or news. And a few headlines such as, what was going on. It was kind of upsetting. Well, I didn't agree with Palki when she was saying, what was she saying? She was all miffed that Zelensky was doing a photo shoot during a war, and I disagree with that. I don't think you can just put your whole life on hold and just go to the front until you're killed because you're the leader and you have to set an example. He hadn't seen his wife in months, I guess, because he had her put somewhere out of harm's way while he stayed in Kyiv. Now, most dictators or leaders or what have you would flee with as much money as they can when they saw that their country was about to be invaded. And that's what most of them do. Ghani, Afghanistan, Sri Lanka let the country go to hell and went off with a bunch of money. They do it all the time. So I don't want to put down Zelensky. I don't know much about him, and he could be corrupt, but I don't put him down for just wanting to show he has a life and has a wife. Yeah, okay, maybe it was a little polished, maybe it was a little crass, having a wife pose in front of rubble. I mean, okay, but she got a little bit down on him and expecting him to just be fighting all the time till he's killed. I also don't agree with Palki about her militancy on serums. She thinks everybody should get one. Or they're killing people. Everyone's going to die if you don't. But I like her. What else did she say in the news? Okay, Sri Lanka is continuing to deteriorate. Well, Iraq has an election coming up, and both the major candidates are Shiites, which I bet you don't have any idea what that means, but Iranians, the Iran regime, the Islamic Republic of Iran are run by Shiites. Now, if you get Iraqi leaders who are Shiites, I think there'll be some sort of a rapprochement. See how educated I am? Between those two countries, which could be good or bad. But if the Iraqis go toward the Shia, then there's going to be trouble. Now let me get into the public education system, because I wanted to explain some things. I got most of my information from the Center on Education Policy, George Washington University. Alright. Oh, one more thing Palki said. South Korea has a sleeping deprivation problem. Nobody can sleep in South Korea. They're taking pills to get to sleep by the dozens. And they have a sleep therapy or sleep centers on every block because nobody can sleep. And the reason they can't sleep is because when South Korea became a country in its own right in 1953, they decided, just like all the other dictators or leaders of countries, that to educate people is going to be the quickest way to be successful as a country and population. So they really pressed education in South Korea, and they became a powerhouse, an economic powerhouse, a technological powerhouse in 50, 70 years, whatever. At the cost of nobody can sleep, and who knows what will happen from that. But if you look at all the people who had delusions of grandeur or trying to get their country together, you look at Schicklgruber, Hitler Youth, educate the kids early into the doctrine that they want. China, they started a little late, but now they're really like most third graders can do calculus. Americans and kids can't even spell calculus. Give me a break. We're going to lose because they're way smarter than us, just by and large. They have to be. They're forced to be. We've made stupidity the norm in America. In fact, you want to be stupid. If you show any signs of intelligence, they cut you down. To educate is to cultivate, nurture, brief, explain, instruct, teach. Cultivate, evade. To crop, farm, or manage. Other words for education is coaching, pedagogy, tutorage, tutorship, direction, and guidance. Now, To teach is to cause, to acquire knowledge or skill. That's what teaching is. To cause others to acquire knowledge and skill. Now, what knowledge is in this day and age, I don't know. But certainly very few skills. Most of the skills are being learned by illegal immigrants who come and fix our toilet and make $1 million a year. I'll go through a little history. I think this is going to go too long because I took a lot of notes. I got a lot of stuff. So I'm going to make this a two-parter because I am one person who will patronize and cater to my fans. And if my fans want education, then I'll educate. Now, before public education, how did they teach their kids? Well, they did it through church groups, local schools organized by towns. And if you read the autobiography of Benjamin Franklin, which he wrote, most of it is spent talking about how he went all over the place around town asking for money so he could start libraries, public a school, and other public services. And so people got sick of even seeing Benj Franklin. He'd cross the street just like if he was a gang member or something when he came. He was going to hit us up again for money. Traveling schoolmasters, charity schools, mostly funded by the church, boarding schools for the wealthy. They had dame schools. We're talking revolutionary times now. Dame schools run by women or girls. You could have a private tutor. You could have work apprenticeships where you're taught rudimentary things like I'm going to be a wheelwright. I got to learn how to measure. I got to learn what numbers are. Okay, so you learn the rudiments through learning a skill. It makes a lot of sense. It's called pragmatism in a way, which I'll get to later. I'm not going to do this in one sitting because I'm already too long. And it's kind of interesting and kind of boring at the same time. The Founding Fathers maintained that success of a fragile American democracy would depend on competency of its citizens. And that has to do with voting too. That's why democracy has failed. I'm sorry, Benjamin, and I'm sorry, James, and all you other Thomases. 1785 and 1787, they made laws to allow federal land grants to new states on the stipulation that they use some of that land to make public schools or make accommodations for teaching. Now, in the 1830s, a guy named Horace Mann, legislator from Massachusetts, and I believe a Secretary of Education in the state, not in the federal, he wanted to get a more broad-based, across-the-board education system in America. So he started this whole thing. I'm sure he had no idea what he was doing as far as how much damage he would cause. But I'm sure his intentions were good. He wanted people to learn the 3 R's: history, geography, grammar, rhetoric, moral instruction, and civic values. Nothing about your sexuality. They probably would have had him burned at a stake if he said, we're going to talk about what sex you want to be and what have you, and who you like. Many people were against it because Horace wanted to draw off the public school or private schools because he said that everybody has to be, all classes should be participating, and if you have all the rich people in private schools, it would be out of balance. And many Americans didn't want to pay for other people's education, even back in the 1830s. They said, why should I pay for your kid? So that hasn't changed. There was racism and there was sexism, and if you go into this thing from the Center on Education Policy, it's the first thing that comes up if you go into public education. I don't delve too deep. I just get there's racism. The races were either not even allowed to go to the school, or if they were, they had a substandard education. Sexism, girls might be allowed in school, but they were kind of segregated and taught how to sew and how to knit and how to keep a house, and the boys were taught a skill. I mean, a practical skill to make money. And I'm going to leave it there. I have more to say. I can do 15 more minutes. I hope you found this interesting so far, and I will go on and talk about John Dewey, and I'll talk about the lyrics of this song I sang because it's interesting. So I'm going to leave it there. I'm sorry it wasn't funny, but I wanted to talk about that and just get a diatribe in the morning. I'm still kind of awake. And I'll also talk about how I've been fucking up again. So I'll leave it there, and have a good day, and try to learn something if you can. Anything. Goodbye.